We're going to call this meeting to order. It's Tuesday, November 9th. The regular Board of Mayor and Alderman meeting will start with the invocation, followed by Pledge of Allegiance. Clyde, if you will do that, if you all would please stand.
Would you bow, please? Heavenly Father, again tonight we come to you in prayer with open hearts and humble beginnings. We ask that you be with each of us as we make decisions that will affect the citizens of Franklin. We ask that you give us the spiritual wisdom and guidance that we need. But we also ask that you be with our national leaders as we go through a lot of transitions and a lot of problems and a lot of people out of work. We ask that you be with each of those and help them, guide them, guard them. We also ask that you be with us tonight. And we offer this prayer in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Clyde. Item number 4, statements from citizens on issues that are not on the agenda tonight. If anybody wishes to address this body, we'll be glad to hear from you at this moment. If not, we'll move on to item number 5 with communication with Williams County Mayor or Williams County Commission. They are not here. Item number 6 is approval of the minutes, except that you don't have the October 26th work session on here. So there a motion to approve the 3 remaining minutes.
Move approval.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Recognitions from the mayor.
All right.
That's me. Mr. Joe York. There you are. Stand up, Joe. Now, you don't know why we're applauding you yet. It might be something bad. Joe was recognized for an outstanding public service in recognition of his 17 years of service to the citizens of Franklin by the Downtown Neighborhood Association. Upon presenting the award, Sam Whitson of the DNA said, quote, let's see, because I would never say this, Joe has built Franklin Street Department to an agency that rivals that of any city anywhere. Joe continually is working to meet the needs of citizens of Franklin. We do congratulate you. You do an excellent job. The go-to man. Never say no, Joe. Also would like to remind everybody tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock is the ribbon cutting ceremony for Columbia Avenue, well, actually both phase, 5th Avenue and Columbia Avenue streetscape will take place at 9 o'clock at the 5 Points Post Office. And also on Thursday, November 11th at 11 o'clock is the Veterans Day Parade. It begins at 5 Points. This year's Grand Marshal is our one and only Chief Jackie Moore.
Oh.
So please join us, and you're welcome to walk and throw candy at Jackie if you want. Anybody else? What a surprise!
Something's going to happen at the library involving something.
No. He says the city. No.
You're all wrong.
Okay.
I invite all the aldermen and City of Franklin citizens to come and participate in the Battle of Franklin commemorative illumination. Saturday, November the 20th. We'll begin at 1 in the afternoon, and we need volunteers to help come and participate in lighting 10,000 luminaries to recognize the anniversary of the Battle of Franklin from June 30th in 1864.
November 3rd.
Excuse me. When did I say?
You said June.
November. Thank you very much.
Hey, are you amazed that we were even listening to what you were saying?
I think this is the 5th year that we've done this, and
It's pretty
it's
spectacular.
truly an exciting experience. There will be a period band there to play period tunes, and there'll also be some characterizations of people that were in Franklin and involved in the battle that day. So We invite everybody to come out. It's a good family outing, you know, you can take 100 of these and light them, and it puts us all in a big neighborhood project there, so.
And it will be at?
At Carnton and the Eastern Flank Battlefield, starting at 1 o'clock on Saturday, the 20th.
But the luminary is at dusk.
Yeah, but we'll need to start lighting.
Yeah, if you want to come to light, you need to come before.
Yes, yes. The ceremony starts at about 4.
Okay.
If you have any questions, you can call Amanda Hall at 550-6737, or email her at amanda.hall@franklintn.gov.
Anybody else?
Thank you.
All right. Item number, anybody has anything else to say? I don't want to miss anybody. Okay, item number 9, consent agenda. We have items 16 through 30 on a consent agenda. Do I hear a motion?
I just want to pull
Pull
21.
21.
Just so we let people know what's going on.
Okay. Anything else?
What was that number?
21?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda, including items 16 through 31, except for, 16 through 30, excuse me, except for item 21?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. On to item number 10, this is a public hearing, consideration of ordinance 2010-75, an ordinance to amend Title 18, Section 18-129, and Section 18-210 to establish a new water and sewer user rates. Anyone wish to address this body on that issue? If not, I will declare the public hearing closed. Is there a motion
Move for approval.
and a second?
Second.
Discussion?
I'm still looking at the numbers here, still have some concerns, and I also want to add that there's been some discussion about continuing the differential or the premium for customers outside the city limits, and I think we have moved away from what was the historic premium that was charged to customers that live outside the city limits, and in the last few years we have moved away from that. Really, they're only paying maybe a premium of 20%, whereas it used to be a lot more.
Any other comments? If not, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously. Item number 11, consideration of the mayor's appointment of Alderman Michael Skinner to the Williamson County Solid Waste Board. All those in favor say aye. All right, great. Item number 12, consideration of Resolution 2010-76, a resolution to approve the city's commitment for the Jackson National Life Fast Track Infrastructure Development Program and to authorize the request to incur costs prior to contract execution under the FIDP. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Item number 13, consideration of the agreement of COF contract number 2010-173 with Jackson National Life Insurance Company for the proposed Fast Track Infrastructure Development Program, FIDP, as proposed by Resolution 2010-76. Is there a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Item number 14, consideration of the agreement of COF contract number 2010-172 with Middle Tennessee Electric Membership Corporation for the proposed Fast Track Infrastructure Development Program as proposed by Resolution 2010-76. Need a motion?
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Item number 15, consideration of the professional services agreement with CDM for the Integrated Water Resource Plan, Phase 2, in an amount not to exceed $1,424,380. Funding to be from the water, wastewater, reclaimed water, and stormwater budgets. Is there a motion?
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Discussion?
I'll recuse myself.
Okay. Any other discussion?
No, okay, go ahead.
Oh,
In the work session, I think one of the things I remembered that CDM people had said that they had wished that they had been able to eliminate more of the options so that they wouldn't have to flesh that out and we might save some more money. I wonder, if maybe we could ask them to go back and look at that one more time to, you hate to spend money on something we're probably not going to do.
Milton, you want to address that?
Sure. The stakeholder process, I think, was sort of where that comment was surrounded. And the stakeholder group that we had in Phase 1 of the project, they decided to keep pulling in the different alternatives or projects to be evaluated for Phase 2. So that's how it ended up being that way. And I think one of the reasons why the cost is higher than originally anticipated.
But we could certainly remove that if we so choose.
We certainly could, yes, sir.
Well, when would be it
I would say,
appropriate that we...
well, probably not at this meeting, but when we analyzed it at a work session, we could probably do that. Yes, Mr. Stewart?
Really, when you break down this scope of work, the big dollars center around projects that relate to the water plant and enhancements at the 2 million gallon treatment per day treatment level, doubling the size of that treatment plant. That's kind of the big set of that on the water side. On the wastewater side, the significant dollars revolve around the construction of a new facility, the expansion or adaptation of the existing facility. We also spend significant dollars on the update of the modeling throughout. So when you take those groups, which are all pretty significant elements, that comprises well over 2/3 of this scope of work, probably a good bit more than that. And so if you can eliminate one of those, then this cost and scope of work does change significantly. But through the stakeholder process, we weren't able to say, we can't eliminate any of those at this point, so we need to see these through a greater degree of evaluation and input from the community, especially from you all, in terms of making those decisions. So that's really what drives it, from looking at this scope and trying to break it down into what decisions we could make to limit the scope. We took a smaller amount out, but related to the raw water pipeline, essentially. We looked at that and said, there's no way. That's just not even going to be worth spending the money on. So that's why this number went down a little bit. But unless the board feels that some of those other elements that I described aren't worth doing further evaluation on, you're pretty much looking at something like this scope of work. Because we had the same questions when we saw this number, because it's a good-sized number for this Phase 2. But David may have some other insights, too.
Would you just name those again, what you call 2/3 of the amount?
Well, on water, you've got the existing plant at the 2 million gallon a day and upgrades related to that at that capacity, doubling it, taking it up to 4 million gallons a day, that expansion and upgrades related to that. On the wastewater side, you've got the construction of a new facility, which is actually what started all of this a couple years ago. Then you've also got improvements, expansion of the existing treatment plant. And then you've got the modeling that kind of runs through all of this that we've got to do. We've got to update the Harpeth River modeling that shows how all of these different pieces fit together. And that is critical in terms of our permitting work with the state in all aspects.
The other additional large cost is your biosolids.
Yeah, very good. Yes.
That's care of that, which is, that really shoots that. That's true. But the existing plan is not only just looking at, you have to evaluate all these structures out there, and then also you have to evaluate your infrastructure getting to the plant to see if you can bring it all. So it's more than just the plant itself, existing plant.
And that pipeline to the Cumberland was totally taken out, right?
That has been removed.
Yeah.
It's
100%.
taken out as far as doing any additional evaluation, but the estimated cost that we indicated to you, somewhere around $100 million, will be used for evaluating the option as you're looking at it in relationship to all the other options and whether you want to pursue that further. So we're eliminating doing the evaluation of updating those costs, but it will be used.
And those details are on the last page of the contract.
Well, one more question. Then, is it possible that we could eliminate some of these options before we get to all the way to the near end.
You can eliminate, the board has the option to eliminate what you may want to eliminate. The process that we've gone through, if you do eliminate, then you sort of sidestep the process, which we've gone through the stakeholders process to get to where we are. So you will be bypassing what they've worked on through, and it's taken us just about a year to do. It's 9 months. Well, it is a year. It's right at a year right now. So you'll be bypassing some of that process. But yes, you're the decision makers. You can decide that you want to eliminate something.
Now, the point I'm trying to make is that if something jumps out as we're working through the process, just like the
Yes.
$100 million to do a pipeline for raw water, if something else begins to show up about this is probably not ever going to work, then do we have to follow that all the way to
No,
the
no,
end
and you're
pricing?
absolutely correct. This is a not to exceed cost because of that. As we go through the process, if it becomes obvious that something is not feasible to continue on with, I would assume and think that it'll probably come back to you through the stakeholders process to say we need to stop that. Staff will be looking at, staff is, or the steering committee, actually it's not staff, it's steering committee, will be meeting still monthly with the consultants, and we'll be looking at those type things and bringing things back to you if it becomes necessary. But that's the reason for breaking it down and having all of these different tasks as not to exceed. We wanted to have the maximum control that we could have on this contract to be able to do what we needed to do. And that could be eliminating or stopping the process for a particular task.
Yeah, I participated on the original search project to evaluate the different companies when we were doing the selecting. And we actually made phone calls to agencies that had used some of the companies that we were considering. And one of the common replies from those agencies was, don't expect too much from this process. And that haunts me a little bit, that we're about to spend near $2 million, and the people that have gone before us have said, don't expect too much. That's all I have to say.
And you were...
What I was going to say, first of all, when you talk about the stakeholders, please remember that those were not necessarily people that are water customers of the city of Franklin. So whenever we're talking about looking at, additional meetings may be necessary to fully engage stakeholders, I think we better say the public. Is the stakeholder group going to continue to be a major part of this?
Yes, ma'am. The stakeholders, as has been identified, will be part of the Phase 2. It is the same stakeholders group. I will point out that a good number of those stakeholders maybe they are citizens of Franklin and or Williamson County, whether they actually work directly for the city.
I said customers.
Well,
And
if
so I could-
they're a citizen of the city, they are customers, and as you're well aware, a good portion of the county is our customers in some manner or other.
But I want to say, I think we've certainly had able representation, with Alderman Moore, but in reality, I think a lot of us need to be noticing what's going on in here and maybe being able to attend some of these meetings. I've only been able to go to one of them, but I'm just saying, if we're going to be making the decisions, we better be involved.
Yeah. Well, they're certainly open to everybody.
Well, as I say, though, if you have them whenever,
Well, we are coming to you after each stakeholders meeting with the results and explaining and going to you and asking you questions as far as with the board as a work session also. But you are the ultimate
That's right.
approval or decision maker concerning any of these aspects.
Any other comments?
We did, just to reiterate a little bit what Dave said, we did have a public session in conjunction, really right after every stakeholders meeting, to kind of bring the same issues that came out of the stakeholder process to the public, to the board. But we're open to any other suggestions you have to engage the public. We're disappointed we didn't have more people come to the public sessions and engage in them, but the process is still ongoing, and this next section is really where the decisions will be made in terms of charting the course, in terms of what we do on water treatment, what we do in wastewater treatment. And so we are absolutely open to ways to not only use the expertise of the stakeholder group, but also reach out to the citizens and ratepayers and customers that we work with as well.
Well, just to continue with that, if you have the meetings during the workday, that cuts out a lot of people who might or might not be interested in coming. And so that is one of the difficulties there. And the other thing is, having only gone to the one meeting, I can tell you I learned a lot more there than I did by coming to the further session, because there are a lot more issues are introduced there than although I think it's very helpful to have the follow-up session, it is not the same thing as being at that session.
Michael?
I wonder if we could get advance notice and perhaps look at our scheduling to where we can maximize attendance from both, for the stakeholders meetings, just for the public and aldermen to observe.
Absolutely. We've provided notice before, and we'll continue to do that and do it even more on the scheduling end as well.
Well, every customer's a stakeholder, so they needs to be where it's as convenient as possible. The other thing is that, as we go through, we will have the opportunity to look at items on this and scale some of these things back, and certainly not cost $1.4 million. I think the question that I asked the other night was the wastewater treatment plant on the east side of the interstate. And that was a specific question. I mean, an item that was on there, and we've still got to look at this thing. You keep mentioning stakeholders and customers, and they should be the same. They probably aren't exactly. So I think we need to make sure that we understand the customer as well as the stakeholder in this.
Beth?
I just have one question. At this point, I'm really not comfortable with taking out any of the options, of course, but my question would be, and I was in that committee meeting where we discussed a lot of this, but when could we scale back the option at when could we scale back any of the options at what point?
I think the process is when we have a monthly steering committee meeting, they'll report back to us the progress on the individual tasks that they're going to be working on, at which point we will be able to make a decision or a recommendation to this body on whether or not we want to scale back, stop the work altogether in that area, or continue to press on. So, it's going to be looking at it on a regular basis and reporting back to you all to make those types of decisions.
So would that allow us to cut cost at any period of time during that?
Right, depending on...
If we look at the options, we go, okay, this is looking, like this may not be an option, just like the Cumberland River thing.
A number of feasibility components, whether it's permitting or constructability or things of that nature, and when we are, as we step through the process and are able to define what those issues may be, we can bring them forward and then make determinations. But I think that can be on a regular basis. The intent is to meet, as I said, monthly for the steering committee to have those types of discussions, among other things.
And so then if we took out an option, would we take it out at that meeting, or would we have to bring it to the board?
No, board would be taking it.
Are the monthly steering committee meetings public meetings?
Is that dated?
Have we ever gotten any information about that?
The monthly steering committee meetings aren't necessarily public meetings, no.
They're really just meetings with the consultant to kind of set the agenda for what the stakeholders do, what comes to the board, just to help guide the process and help bring questions to you so that you can decide. And really the answer to Alderman Berger to your question is, it's at whatever point this board is comfortable making a decision about any of these issues. be it a plant expansion or the construction of a new plant or whatever, at that point, then, we make a decision, and that helps either eliminate other options or direct us, and then elements of this work plan doesn't necessarily need to go forward if you've made other decisions, certain other decisions.
Yeah, because I would think it would be when we're to a point where we have sufficient information that we could make those decisions, because before we have that sufficient information for all those options, I certainly am not comfortable with ruling something out. Okay, thanks.
Anything else? All right, if not, all those in favor of motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, raise your hand. We have one abstention, motion carries unanimously. Item number 21, consideration of ordinance 2010-72, an ordinance increased from $10,000 to $25,000, the dollar amount of purchase at or above which is required, public advertisement and competitive bidding. This came out of the Budget and Finance Committee. Is there a motion for approval
Move for approval.
and a second?
Second.
And
The only reason I pulled that is I felt it needed to be public announced.
Okay.
Thank you, because, we did have some discussion at the committee meeting about
Right.
the fact that this was
This is-
a fairly large number.
Right, a little bit of a change there, and since we're being televised, I thought it needed to be read.
Right.
Okay, any other comments?
I'd like to just note that this covers what we do, a formal advertising and bid process. We will continue to have a competitive process for soliciting price quotes, et cetera. So it doesn't mean we don't look at cost options. It just means the formal process is required of us at a higher threshold.
And did we also say that would be kind of on the website somewhere?
Yeah, we're also looking at our other options to solicit more price quotes, but through technology. There's a lot of online tools now that you can use, and that's part of what our purchasing team is looking at as well. So we can continue to get a lot of proposals, but we don't have to do as many through the formal, more time-consuming approach.
And we are wanting to solicit bids and to make everyone who is interested in making a bid on something aware of it, because that's one of the purposes of the advertisement there. But we would need to do that.
Exactly.
And we did have discussion about that.
And having done that at where I worked before I came here, we did that, and it gave vendors the opportunity to self-identify the type of work they're interested in providing for the city. So that's the kind of system we're looking at moving towards.
Any other comments? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. That concludes the business of the day. Is there a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.